I think it's difficult right now, this coronavirus that's going on. It is April 2020, and right now, basically everything's on lockdown. We are confined to our homes. And I think a lot of people are thinking maybe right now isn't the best time to do or to think about a future for our lives, because it doesn't feel like there is one. And so maybe some people are at home looking at random videos on YouTube, or maybe people are just watching Netflix or cleaning their houses or working on other projects, but they're kind of scared of the future. You know, the economy is going down and things aren't looking too positive and up. And in this plane of existence is to change that, to change the way we think, and to change the way I think, and to change the way you think. And I am a life coach and a hypnobirthing practitioner, meaning I teach people to have pain-free birth. Therapist, which means I retrain people's minds through hypnotherapy. And I am also the founder of the Happiness Resort, and hence the name, the Happiness Resort. Happiness Resort is a place to be happy. Here we are in this time, this paralyzing time of fear, which is completely against everything that is within my belief system and should be within your belief system as well. So whether or not you're going to get the coronavirus, or it could be you can't be successful in your business, it could be you can't be successful in your marriage. That is against our belief system as life coaches, hypnotherapists, and manifestors. What an interesting word, isn't that? Manifesting. Bringing things into your life that you want and not things that you don't want. So I've been talking to quite a few people about this subject. I had a conversation with my brother, and he's talking to me about all the statistics and the death rate of the coronavirus, and he's talking to me about mosquitoes. They kill 750,000 people per year with diseases, and there's a bunch of different kinds. One of the big ones is malaria, but there's a bunch of different kinds. And he said, well, in the last 39 days, 41,000 people have died or something like that. Those are the statistics. And I was thinking about how useless this information is to me as a life changer, as a world changer, as a coach in this world. And my purpose is to bring light and happiness into the world. That is my purpose. That is my destiny. I'm wondering what your destiny is. Have you thought about it? Have you thought about what your future is, what your 1-year goal is? What about 6 months from now? What are your plans? What about your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal, your 20-year goal? I have a hard time looking that far in the future. I want to bring the future into now. And I actually am able to do that. I have done that in my life. I can tell you a little bit about myself. As a mother of almost 9, I'm expecting now, I have been able to bring some pretty powerful things into my life. Let me just begin by saying that some of the powerful things that I brought into my life were negative. I summarize all this in my book. I wrote a book called Step Up into the Joy and Happiness. And you can find that in the link below. I will link that into this video. But it is about basically me not understanding the power of my thoughts. And I'm thinking, how many of you don't understand the power of your thoughts? Probably majority of the world doesn't understand the power of their thoughts. And the reason why I think that is because of the way that the world is going right now. I actually thought more people were more into the empowered mindset than actually are. And maybe that's not being portrayed in the media. Most likely it's not. Probably the people that actually believe that everything's going to be okay in the world, and that it is okay in the world even now, even as people may be dying at small or large rates, whatever you perceive it to be, that the world is still a beautiful, amazing, powerful place that you can tap into. Our thoughts create real things in our lives. And even though we can't just think about something and then it necessarily instantly come to pass, like for instance, I have a vision. My vision is to have a thriving, beautiful, happy family that is smiling and getting along. My vision is to own one of these houses on one of these beaches. My vision is to change the world by traveling to Africa and building schools and building systems to help the people thrive. These are my big, grand plans. I am pregnant now, but I plan to one day complete Ironman and complete many of those. I have a vision to swim great distances without being exhausted. And I have a vision for my marriage and my future that is huge. It's huge. It's beautiful and powerful. And I had to start from a place of darkness and bring myself into a place of light. So my darkness was, and it goes in and out of our existence. We go from dark to light, dark to light, dark to light every day. And so happiness is not something that you grab onto and you never go out of. It's not something that stays with you constantly. But it is something that we can bring into our lives more and more and more and more until things that are negative in our lives, we take them at stride, we take a breath, and we come back into the future, into the present, and accept that sometimes things don't go exactly as we want them to go. That's okay too. Things are not always perfect, and that's part of our existence. And accepting that is actually part of the way that we grow as people, as spiritual beings having a human experience. And this is really important to me for you to know. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Everything that we learn here and all the power that we have is being brought into our existence from a God source. You can call it God many different things. There are a lot of people who call God the universe. They call God like an energy form. And I think that those are valid points to take. I am actually feel very strongly that God is both a being that supports me and loves me as my father and as my mother. God is father and mother. And also all my family that live in heaven, all encompassing one total, complete purpose. And I believe that our spiritual plane on this existence includes angels, and it includes people who have passed away and people who haven't come to the earth yet. And so I believe that we can continuously tap into that powerful source of endless knowledge, opportunity, and love that is given to us by our connection to God. And God is whatever you decide to choose to call God. But I don't want you to get caught up in the details of who God is, because I recognize that a lot of people feel that God is a condemning God. So basically I was in this darker place and had been throughout my life, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down in my marriage. A lot to do with my marriage and struggles with my children. I have a teenage daughter, I have a teenage son, and I have another teenage son. And then I have a 12-year-old that's almost going to be a teenager. And it's been a lot of struggle, and I had to recognize and to accept that things weren't always going to go the way I wanted them to go. And the more that I realized that I was accepting it, the more I could bring joy into my life. I could actually step into my own personal joy and happiness in several different ways. And one of the big, huge ways that I was able to do that was to just let go of the agony of the moment and breathe in the love of the moment. And let me tell you, there is more love and spiritual energy, way more than the darkness that you feel, way more. Even now with this coronavirus, even in times in the past where there was massive destruction, there is still more powerful, loving energy for you to tap into that comes from within you, that lives inside of you, that comes from your spiritual being that is connected to God, than there ever will be tragedy or devastation, destruction, anything like that. Always. I don't care what it is, always. If you lost $20,000 today, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because your future is coming. And as a hypnotherapist, I bring the future into the present. With hypnotherapy, we bring ourselves into a deep meditative state, and then we, as a hypnotherapist, I guide you into the deep meditative state, but you can also do self-hypnosis, which I will teach you to do. And then at that moment, when you bring yourself down into this meditative state, you're accessing your subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind is a huge portion of your brain, and your conscious mind is a very small portion of your brain. It acts only on a small portion of what actually happens to our bodies. And that's why a lot of the times when you feel emotion, dark, cloudy, depressed state, or some kind of anger or some kind of natural instinct that comes to you, but you don't really know exactly why you're feeling that way, it's because it's tapping into the subconscious part of your brain. Now, the subconscious part of your brain is so big that it acts way faster than anything that happens with you consciously. And I know that when I heard this, when I was learning about this, I was like, well, doesn't that mean that we are kind of victims to our subconscious minds? And in a way, we are somewhat, but we need that subconscious part of us, because it controls every part of our body. Our heart is beating, our lungs are breathing, the blood is flowing, we are eradicating viruses in our body. We are constantly, our bodies, which is operated by the part of our brain that we don't have access to, at least we don't have access to consciously, that part is constantly acting. So when we get into this deep meditative state, which you can do through meditation as well, as a hypnotherapist, I can actually speak to your subconscious mind. And when you get down into that place, you're able to reprogram some of those deep, dark thoughts that keep coming up for you. I don't know what it is for you. Just think about that for a moment. What is it that brings you to that dark place? Now, I'm able to speak to you about those things, and we're able to go through it bit by bit by bit, write it down. And as part of your homework, I often, with my life coaching practice as well, this is the same kind of approach, is that you write down all these different things, these limiting beliefs, these limiting thought patterns. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of free writing to get it, all of it, but it's there. It's all there, and it doesn't take a huge amount of time. And before you know it, you're recognizing that the reason why you behave in a certain way, even self-sabotaging, is because of these subconscious thought patterns that you have that were originally rooted in your subconscious brain between the ages of pre-birth almost, and then all the way up to about 6 or 7 years old. And so a lot of us have these things that happen to us that were not necessarily our parents' fault or our caregiver's fault, but that they just, because they're also victims to whatever happened to them. So they are present, and we need to recognize they're present and be okay with them and accept them and love them, love that part of ourselves. And as we, with hypnotherapy, we go through those steps and we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until we're able to reprogram those thoughts. So if your thoughts are, I'm fat, I am so fat and I can never get fit because my parents ate tons of food and we eat food and that's how we celebrate our lives, or my genetic program is blah, 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 and therefore I'm 100 pounds overweight, I'm 50 pounds overweight, I cannot get toned, whatever that belief system is. Or, and eating patterns, and I can't exercise because I have bad knees, or my parents had bad knees, or we have diabetes in our family, or I can't get rich, or I can't build this business because I'm not motivated. And these patterns we get from our parents are very good at instilling these things in us, but that's not their fault either, because their parents instilled it in them. So it is your responsibility now to take charge of your life. At this very moment, you can take charge of it right now. Breathe it in. And take charge of your life. Throughout my time on this planet, I've been through a lot of dark time, marriage related, family related, and media related, and business related, a lot of failure, as I'm sure you have in different areas of your life. And I come to this moment here and now, and I recognize just how beautiful my life is. And I also recognize that it was because of my thoughts that I came to this place. You see, I lived in Rexburg, Idaho with my family, and some dark stuff went down, and my husband and I were about to be split up forever. And I said, well, why don't we try again? But my thing is that we need to move to Hawaii to do that. And so he agreed, and because of that, we're here in Hawaii, this beautiful place. I was able to bring us from Rexburg, Idaho to Hawaii. I brought something that was dark and negative into something beautiful and positive. Now, I promise you that you can do that as well. And Hawaii seems like out of reach for a lot of people. It's expensive to live here. The housing is most expensive. And it's so far away that sometimes people have an idea in their heads that they need to live in a certain place that's where they grew up, and it feels more secure and safe. And so sometimes they go about living that way and not recognizing that they have the potential to grow past that, to grow past it in huge ways. Let me tell you, you can grow past it in huge ways. In fact, I expect my clients to be aiming towards their lofty high goals, like really high goals. And I am able to help them to achieve that, because it is about the power of your thoughts, and it is about what action steps you take because of your thoughts. The thoughts themselves, sometimes they actually bring happiness into the moment now. And it's actually your thoughts that actually make it so that you can recognize the beauty of your life. And when you recognize the beauty of your life, you can actually reach up and pick more beauty and bring it in. But if you do not recognize the current beauty of your life and have gratitude for those things, it is very difficult, because you're in a darker place at that point, for you to bring in that positive energy that creates beautiful things. And so that's the reason why thoughts are actually things. So when we change our thoughts, we change our action. And so this is where life coaching comes in. You have a different way of thinking, and then as a life coach, I walk you through those steps to bring you into the present. So bring your future ideas into the present by taking small steps towards it. And the reason why you feel empowered to take those small steps is because of your thoughts. And so I take hypnotherapy and use it to reprogram your thoughts, so that you can take those positive action movements towards a grand success. And I'm telling you, grand, there is nothing that's off limits to you. There's nothing that's off limits to me. There's nothing that is off limits to you. I promise you that this is true. And one of the ways that I know for sure that this works is because as a mom of almost 9, I have had numerous pain-free births. And you see, birth is meant to be painful. That's what people tell you. That's how people have experienced it throughout history. It is clear indication that there is not a single person who could ever have a pain-free birth. Yet here I am standing to you, telling you that I have had many pain-free births, and that my clients have had pain-free births, and that many people who use these techniques in other ways that I have used and that my clients have used have had pain-free births. Now, you're like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There's no way that's true. And that's the thing, is that we think things in our heads, and we have this idea super programmed in our minds that there's no way it will ever happen. And that includes career, marriage, family, life, all of it. Everything, it can't happen. I can't be happy. This is not going to happen. But I promise you, that's not true. That you can be happy, and you can be happy in this very moment, just like that. And happiness, so in regards to giving birth to a baby, the reprogramming of the mind to believe that the contraction itself that dilates the cervix, which was my first child, was the painful part. With my first baby, it was very painful, so I know the experience. And so I felt the full contractions. I felt the terrible, excruciating pain that everybody talks about. And I decided in my next birth that wasn't going to happen, and I was introduced to hypnosis for childbirth. Now, it took me a few more births to actually manage that and to figure it out, because my limiting belief patterns were pretty strongly ingrained. And a lot of times they are really strongly ingrained in us. That doesn't mean that your second birth or even your first birth can be painless. That doesn't mean that. It can't be painless. It can be painless, but we have to step into that and believe it with 100%. And I think I had a hard time with that. And I was young. I was 23 on my second birth, and my first birth I was 22. And so it was difficult for me to fully grasp that. I had quite a few limiting beliefs, and those belief patterns can change. And I actually didn't have a coach who was coaching me through it all the way. I just had kind of like a general guidance system. And so as I became a coach myself, I was able to coach myself through it and actually deliver my babies without any help. I was supposed to call my midwife earlier, and I asked my husband to, but he didn't quite hear me because I was in such a deep meditative state. And so I ended up delivering these babies by myself, a couple of my babies just at home by myself, and I was completely at peace. I knew that the baby was safe. I felt very strongly, but I didn't expect the midwife not to arrive. So I delivered this baby. It was fully dilated, not fully, and then I recognized that I was fully dilated all of a sudden, and there I was delivering my babies in my birth tubs on my own. So I had been able to do this amazing thing, which is to create something that was supposed to be really painful with my mind into something that was not. And not only was it not painful, I'm not even just talking about the pain part of it, I'm talking about the joy part of it too. It was happy, there was laughing and joking, it was playful. On my last birth, with Jacoby, we were under the stars. It was beautiful. It was May, and I had drained my hot tub and filled it with warm water and clean warm water, and then I was able to be outside under the stars, and at 3:30 in the morning I delivered my baby. And the midwife actually came right after he was born, because even though she was really close to my house, my husband didn't quite call fast enough. So it was quite beautiful. It was probably the most beautiful birth of my births, though my son, who was born, he's 7 years old, it was pretty amazing as well. That was my second favorite. But my point is not to say, hey, are you going to get pregnant? Are you going to have a baby? That's not my point. My point is that that it's possible. It's possible and doable, even right now, to change your entire concept around your life. For me, it was around birth originally, but now it's around all parts of my life. I wake up in the morning, I see my day happening the way I need to, I call upon any power that I need, and I step up into my joy by taking action steps towards it. Now, this is not to say that I'm perfect at this. Sometimes I still have depressed moments. Sometimes I still sit and self-loathe and mourn and feel sorry for myself, which is pathetic. But mostly, I'd say that my life is stepping up towards that constantly. It's a daily process. It's an hourly process, really. It's, your kid comes and screams at you, and you scream right back at them, and you're like, oh no, I stepped out of my joy, it's over. But it's not over. Right now, it's here. All that joy and happiness is here. And so I brought you to this beach to show you. Okay, so I'm near Haleiwa in Oahu, and sometimes I wake up in the morning and I wonder how I got here. And I'm like, wow, I cannot believe I'm actually in Hawaii and I live here. And I just want you to know that Hawaii is accessible to you. I don't know if you want to live in Costa Rica. I don't know if you want to move across the United States or Canada, or I want you to travel the world. So you might want to travel the world. Perhaps your goal is to win a triathlon. What about a marathon? Maybe your life goal is to build $1 million business or become a millionaire or multimillionaire. Maybe you want to own a jet. You see, none of these things are out of your reach. Let me repeat, none of these things are out of your reach. Now, I offer a lot of free services, so please hit the like button. You do not have to pay for anything from me. I am going to offer you a lot of free things. And there I'm going to offer you some meditations, some hypnotherapy for free. And so if you just follow me, I will guide you through a process. If you feel like you need more help, then you can always give me a call. But if not, you can use my free services. But today is your day. Your day. Today is your day. I don't want to undermine that sentence. Today is your day. And you can take action now. Now, right now. I don't want you to wait till tomorrow. I don't want you to think about doing this in the future. I don't want you to listen to my thing, my whole little speech and my little spiel and say, oh my gosh, that girl's crazy. I'm out. It's fine for you to do that, but I'm telling you, you're wasting your life if you do. I have been through a lot. I have done a lot. I have experienced a lot of pain. I've been divorced once. I've been to court. I've been through basically hell, I'd say. I call it hell. And it was miserable. And now it's not easy still. It's just as hard in a lot of ways now. But the happiness that I choose to bring into my life is something that I actively, daily pursue. And so follow me and I'll show you some tools and you can do this. We can do this.